the principal pyramid at Chichen Itza, which is a stepped pyramid, and it stands in the middle of the great grassy area in the center of Chichen Itza, is called the pyramid or the temple of Kukulkan. And Kukulkan was the Mayan name for the civilizing deity Quetzalcoatl, who's a very similar figure to the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, a god of resurrection and rebirth. And that pyramid of Quetzalcoatl at Chichen Itza is so perfectly situated in relation to the rising of the sun, so perfectly designed in its positioning on the earth, that on the spring equinox, an amazing effect is observed on the northern staircase. For 3 hours and 22 minutes exactly, an illusion of light and shadow creates the figure of a gigantic feathered serpent, and that was the emblem of Quetzalcoatl, undulating up and down that staircase. Now, to position the monument so precisely in relation to the rising of the sun on that particular day requires an amazing geodetic and astronomical knowledge, and yet this is just totally overlooked by our Orthodox scholars.
I have this horrible feeling, Graham, that when we, and if we ever do learn the secrets held within the Sphinx, within the pyramids, we're going to discover that we've been doing it all the wrong way.
I'm sure you're right, Art. I really completely agree with you on this. I think we've been doing it all the wrong way for 2,000 years. I think that we've gone down a sidetrack in the evolution of our consciousness. We've been held back. We've been delayed. We've been prevented by dark forces from moving along. And those dark forces are within ourselves, and it's up to us to overcome them. That we cannot hand over responsibility for this to any external force. It is up to us ourselves to realize the potential for beauty and truth that lies within us. And if we do not realize that potential, then we alone are responsible for it.
All right. First-time caller line. You're on the air with Graham Hancock. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you.
Where are you, pray tell?
I am in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And I had a question for Mr. Hancock, and that is my now 10-year-old son will be traveling with his grandmother November of '97 with John Anthony West.
Oh, wonderful. They're going to go to Egypt with John?
Yes.
Well, they'll have a marvelous journey because John has the deepest and most profound and beautiful knowledge of the mysteries of ancient Egypt.
Yes, and I've seen his video on his theories of that area as well.
Yeah.
But my question to you was, I'm looking for information that my son, who's now 10, who will then be 12, that he can look at and gather knowledge about that is a truer sense of the history of Egypt. Because after listening to you and listening to my grandmother, your textbook is not necessarily what the history of Egypt is about. And
what you read in textbooks is definitely not what the history of Egypt is about. The standard Egyptological textbooks are extremely misleading, and they falsify the story of this wonderful civilization.
Right, and I'm really glad I had the opportunity to get through, because I had a question about some of your books and wondering how technical are they?
Well, I find I give many talks, public talks at bookshops and at conferences, and I find that many young people attend those talks, and I frequently got through to people of under 10 years of age, and the new book, The Message of the Sphinx, does contain technical information concerning astronomy, but it's all backed up with very, very clear diagrams which help the more difficult ideas to be understood. And I would say, for all of us, the sooner we start doing the work, the better. As I've always say, never expect it to be easy. And the younger we start on the journey of discovery, the better. I definitely, I'm not trying to sell my books on the air, but unfortunately, there are very few books around which look at Egypt from what I think is the true point of view. And I would urge your son to have a look at The Message of the Sphinx, have a look at Fingerprints of the Gods, have a look also at the Orion Mystery.
The Orion Mystery, that was the other one. I couldn't remember the name of.
That's Robert Bovar's previous book, and then he and my previous book was Fingerprints of the Gods, and both of these books deal extensively with Egypt, and then we got together to write The Message of the Sphinx. Now, I feel it's my responsibility as an author to write books that are readable, above all else, a book has to be read, and I try to tell a story which is a readable story and which will not bore the reader, but at the same time to convey truthful and solid information, and that's why I always include footnotes in my book. But don't be put off by that. The information is all there, and I think it is accessible to young people.
Well, that's great. We also homeschool, so it's going to be a great adventure to have a year and a half to work on the information together.
That's great. That's the way to do it, and I'm glad you put the emphasis on the word work, because we all have to put our minds into gear on this.
That's
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Exercise that muscle up there.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you, dear, and
Okay.
good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yes, take care. Time is short. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Graham Hancock.
Yeah, Art?
Yes.
I'm calling from San Diego,
Yes, sir.
and I've got two questions for Graham.
All right.
The first question I have is that how do you think the Islamic fundamentalists of Egypt will react if they find out what's going on at Giza, especially with the discoveries that could be discovered there?
All right, that is a good question. Graham?
I think that there is this curious political background to what is happening in Egypt, which needs to be taken very carefully into account. There is, unfortunately, in extremist Islam, a tendency to believe that anything which precedes the Quran is knowledge that should not be known. There's a story concerning the burning of the great library at Alexandria in Egypt, which I suspect is probably not a true story, because the first Muslims were great learners and great guardians of knowledge. But nevertheless, for what it's worth, I'll tell you the story. When the Muslims from Saudi Arabia invaded Egypt shortly after the time of the Prophet Muhammad, they found this amazing library containing reputedly 1 million scrolls, all the collected knowledge of the ancient world. And they sent message back to the Caliph Umar in Iraq, and they asked him, what are we to do with this library? And his reply was the following: if it contains material which is contradictory to the Quran, then it is against God, so burn it. And if it contains material which is in the Quran, then it is superfluous, so burn it. And as a result, the great library of Alexandria was burned.
I'm so afraid, Graham, that the knowledge contained in the chambers of the Sphinx, the pyramids, when it is finally opened, will receive a similar order.
Yes, but I'm afraid I want to stress very strongly that I don't think the threat to this knowledge comes from today, from Islamic fundamentalists. It comes from the powerful, wealthy, and secretive groups that are controlling research over that site at the moment for their own personal agendas.
My friend, listen, we're out of time.
And well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I do want to stress that we can put a stop to this bad project that is taking place at Giza, and a good one can replace it. We don't need to fear the fundamentalists. We need to fear the forces in our own society.
Graham, where do you go from here?
Well, I'm still traveling. I'm going from here to South Africa, where I'll be spending a week. Fingerprints of the Gods and the Message of the Sphinx have recently been published there. And then finally I'm going on to Australia for a week, and I get back to England on the 27th of July.
Your entire body is going to be a mess for the next year.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sort of revolving around the planet in opposite directions twice within a month.
Graham, my friend, it has been a pleasure, and when you next grace these shores, we want you back.
I'll look forward very much to talking to you, Art. I think your show is a great forum for ideas and discussion and awakening the good spirit in people all around the world, and that's just what I'd like to close on, that there's so much goodness in people, and it's in all of us, and all we need to do is to reach for it and make it strong, and we can send the darkness away.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you.
I wish you a safe journey.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, and take care, my friend.